Today, we are breaking down a critical cybersecurity threat that has the entire tech industry on high alert. Now, this isn't just for the engineers. If you're managing a tech portfolio, this is a must-know brief on investment risk and due diligence. We're talking about a vulnerability called React4Shell.
Our story starts with this number, 10.0. In the world of cybersecurity, that's the maximum possible severity score. It's a perfect 10. You can think of it as the digital equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane warning. It means a flaw is not only critical, but it's easy to exploit and has a massive potential for damage. And this quote really tells you why it gets that perfect score. We're not talking about a simple data leak here. This thing allows an attacker, someone with no password, no special access, to gain total, complete control of a company's web infrastructure. That is literally the keys to the kingdom. Okay, so now that we've set the stage on just how severe this is, let's get into the specifics of the threat itself. This is really about understanding what this vulnerability is and why it represents a material risk that demands immediate, board-level attention. So what makes this so dangerous is this combination of huge scope and shocking simplicity. React4Shell is a flaw in the basic building blocks used by tens of millions of modern websites. An attacker can use it with just one single, specially crafted web request to run any command they want on the server. The ease of this attack is what should really concern anyone who's managing risk. All right, now that we get the technical threat, let's talk about the business impact. A flaw like this isn't some abstract engineering problem. It is a direct threat to revenue, to reputation, and ultimately to shareholder value. This is the potential blast radius across your entire portfolio. The potential blast radius here is, well, it's global. It is massive. We're talking about tens of millions of websites. And that includes huge, high-profile companies like Airbnb and Netflix, who rely on these exact technologies. The risk is baked into some of the most successful and widely used web platforms in the world. And the exposure, it goes deeper than just the websites themselves. A recent analysis found that almost 40% of cloud infrastructures have vulnerable versions of these components. So what that means is the risk isn't just on the surface, it is woven right into the fabric of the cloud services that powers so much of our modern tech economy. And this is the crucial point. The threat is not theoretical. It's not something that might happen. A working, reliable exploit is already public on GitHub. This basically lowers the barrier for attackers down to almost zero. And security experts, they all agree. Large-scale, automated attacks are not a question of if, but when. So, we've seen the threat, we've seen the potential financial fallout. But to really get a handle on the risk, it helps to understand how the attack actually works. So in this section, we're going to take a quick peek under the hood. Knowing how this works is the key to understanding why the defense plan is so urgent. You know, the technology at the heart of this was actually created for a really good reason: performance. It lets a web server do all the heavy lifting, like querying a database, to build a web page before it even sends it to your browser. And that makes websites feel way faster and more responsive for all of us. The vulnerability itself is a classic case of something called unsafe deserialization. In simple terms, think of it like this. The server gets a packet of data, and it's supposed to unpack it safely. But in this case, the server doesn't properly check what's inside that package. So an attacker can create a malicious data packet that, when the server unpacks it, is treated as a command to be executed. And I'm going to stress this one more time, because it is the single most important factor for assessing your risk. The attacker does not need to steal a password. They don't need to be an insider. They don't need any special access at all. They can be a complete stranger on the internet who can get total control of a server with one single anonymous request. All right, now for the most important part of this brief, the actionable defense plan. This is the due diligence checklist you should be discussing with your portfolio companies like yesterday. A really solid response isn't just one single action. It's a multi-layered strategy. You've got 3 pillars for an effective defense. First, you update to get rid of the vulnerability. Second, you mitigate and harden to protect your systems while the updates are rolling out. And third, you investigate for any signs that you are already compromised. And the order of operations here is critical. Step 1 is patching. That is the only permanent fix. Step 2 is deploying shields, like firewalls, as a crucial stopgap. And step 3 is to assume you might have been breached before you even knew about it and proactively hunt for threats. And the key takeaway here is just how simple this is. This table right here provides the single most important question you can ask your portfolio's leadership right now. Are we running these specific versions or later? Anything else is an unacceptable risk. This is the non-negotiable checklist for a permanent fix. Now, while teams are in the process of patching, a web application firewall, or a WAF, can act as a shield. These tools can block the known attack patterns. All the major cloud providers, AWS, Cloudflare, you name it, have already released protective rules. A key diligence question for you is to confirm these rules are actually active, especially on providers like AWS where it requires a manual step to turn them on.
And finally, because this vulnerability existed before it was publicly announced, it is absolutely critical to investigate for signs of a breach. Teams need to be digging through their network and server logs, looking for those telltale signs of an attack. Things like reconnaissance, someone hunting for secret keys, or installing backdoors. If you find any of this, it requires an immediate, full-scale incident response.
So, let's bring this all together into an actionable framework. Here's the prioritized checklist you need to confirm is being executed across all of your assets. 1. Inventory and update. Confirm all vulnerable software has been patched immediately. 2. Mitigate and verify. Make sure those protective shields like the WAF rules are active and configured correctly. And 3. Investigate. Proactively review your logs to hunt for any sign that a compromise has already happened.
Look, React4Shell is today's fire drill. It is a critical, high-impact event that needs immediate action. But it also serves a greater purpose. It's a stress test for your entire portfolio's cybersecurity posture. The real question this vulnerability forces us all to ask is not just, are we safe today? But is our process for handling risk ready for the next inevitable crisis? That's the real 10-point question every investor should be asking.